True friendship multiplies the good in life and divides its evil. Strive to have friends, for life without friends is like life on a deserted island. To find one real friend in a lifetime is good fortune. To keep him is a blessing. Baltasar Gracian of Spain. Terms of a feather. The worst part about being mundane is how everyone looks down on you. At least when you go to a school for demi-humans and other beings. I've always been looked down on. For as long as I can remember, everybody looked at me like I was a frail doll, always needing the help of others to do anything. Until the day I started West Progress High. Everybody there treats me as me. They didn't pull their punches or lend a hand at every turn. They judged me for who I was. Myself. Who am I? I'm Melissa Odinson. I'm completely mundane, and nothing gets my blood boiling like the looks other mundanes give me when I'm around my friends. The worst of it was when they thought I didn't know what my friends were. What is she doing with them? Is she in danger? Should we call someone? It never ends. Still, it's better than before. Hey! Are we still on for today? Simi asked the bundle of Team 2 during the brief time between morning teachers. Of course, Argento said. A Del Sagugio always keeps their word. Same, Donovan said. Alright. Simi grinned even wider. Gwen and Carl should be down as well. We're gonna turn the arcade upside down. Right, Melissa? He chuckled as I rolled my eyes. Sure. Watching Adrian spend 2 weeks to build Jessica's score was fun enough. Might as well go for a sequel. I had spoken loud enough for Adrian to hear me, who turned to bark a taunt or threat, but got cut off by the teacher. Simi had managed to convince Carl, our team leader, to spend the whole afternoon at the arcade, and then got the rest of us roped in too. An impressive feat with Argento and Gwen. Donovan would follow Argento, and Jennifer and I just kinda had nothing better to do, with Jessica and Jesse having extra classes until nightfall. So it was after lunch we would all go and play the day away. That plan didn't last till lunch though, as Carl's mobile phone started ringing. It was like a red alarm siren until Carl pushed the answer key. Dad, wasn't... Carl started but stopped. Right now? I'm in class. Do you not have anyone else? He listened, standing up. Okay, I'm coming now. He hung up and addressed the class while heading to the door. I'm sorry, but I need to make a delivery for my dad. It's of top... He probably said, it's of top importance. But the last words were cut off by him dashing at super speed into the hallway. It wasn't the first time this had happened either. So class went on until lunch. The class was let loose and we all started our way to the cafeteria with a detour by the restroom. Argento and I stood out in the hall as to not overcrowd, which was how he saw me. Hey, Melissa! Called out Nathan Borson as he walked up waving. What's up, little sis? I rubbed my eyes and groaned. He's been doing this we're family thing since I got here. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't into it like he was. Don't call me that. Why not? We're family after all. He grinned. I'm your big brother. Therefore, you're my little sister. He had put a slight emphasis on little just to irk me. It got annoying fast. I said to him, because I'll knock you one if you keep on. He just laughed at that until Argento chimed in. I'm sorry, could you explain that? I looked at him confused. Explain what? This apparent brother-sister thing, he clarified, if it's not too intrusive. Oh, that? No, it's simple, Nathan said. Melissa was adopted by Odin, and I wield the mantle of Thor, who is the son of Odin. Therefore, siblings. Nathan had pulled out the almost caricature idea of a hammer that he carried. Mjolnir. It was the base of the mantle of Thor, Norse god of thunder, and with it came the power to be called a god. That's how it was with the Norse deities. Well, some of them. Their powers were stored and channeled through these magic matrices called mantles, which came with the duty and responsibility assigned to the title, as well as the sweet perks. Nathan was Thor now. The man who adopted me over a year ago was Odin. He was the one who gave me the family name Odinson and enrolled me into the school. So, Odin is your father? Argento asked. Legally, I mean. Nope, he's just Odin to me, Nathan said. But he has helped in guiding me in more than one way. I still owe a lot to him. Does that make sense? Explicitly, Argento nodded. It was at this time the scene that had developed without our knowing broke in, as Simi walked up with a frown. Hey guys, I'm sorry to do this, but I gotta go, Simi explained. They got a call. My little brother is having an awakening and Dad is upstate. I gotta go. Congrats, Nathan smiled. I'm sure an awakening is scary, but I bet it's also exciting. Yeah, it would be. Simi's frown deepened, but apparently it was started when he took a dose of buff out. So, I really have to go. He turned away and started down the hall. I didn't fully understand the situation, but I knew buff out could be dangerous. I sighed. So, is the arcade off now? Doesn't have to be, Donovan said, as the rest of Team 2 regrouped. Having a team of 7 means you can be missing a few people and keep going. I say we go. Agreed, Argento nodded. We can't stop just because others can't go. I vote on go. Since when do we vote? I asked. Since we lost our leader and second in command, Argento answered. Simi was our second in command? I was more surprised than asking. In hindsight, it made complete sense. I also vote go, Nathan said, raising a hand. You're not on this team, I shouted. Doesn't mean I can't tag along. Does too! Now go! I pointed down the hallway shouting, This is a private team meeting! Okay, I'm going. Nathan walked off, leaving the 5 of us, as well as the other students who were staring at us. The fuck y'all looking at? I yelled, and they scattered apart, leaving only us. I turned back. So yeah, I vote we go. That's 3 out of 5, Jennifer said. 4 with me. We all looked to Quinn, who simply gave a nod. 5. The arcade is still on. Now let's get lunch. Jennifer nodded, and we all turned and continued to the cafeteria. We got lunch, had our fill, and left to find a spot to hang out until dismissal. That's when Vice Principal Thompson and Mr. Meerman found us. Miss Knight, a word, Mr. Thompson said. It's about your project in Mr. Hall's class. Jennifer seemed to perk up at that. What about it? It seems it caught the eye of some high-level academics, Mr. Meerman explained. They want to talk to you, right now. Right now? As in right now? Jennifer said. Or later. Thompson lifted a hand. They have busy schedules, but they all have time for now. Or in a few weeks, after autumn break. If you don't want to go now, it's okay. Well, it's just that I had plans for the day, Jennifer said and bit her thumb. No, she doesn't, I barked out as I stepped forward. She can go now. Melissa, what about... Jennifer tried to protest, but I stopped her in her tracks. Shush! If you really want to go to the arcade more than meet a life-changing opportunity, then deck me and let's go, I said, settling the score. But don't pass on this just to make us feel better. It's okay to have your priorities, remember? Jennifer looked to me. I think she was about to cry before turning to the teachers. Can Melissa come with? Sure, Meerman shrugged. Nope, I countered. I still have to put my word to the team first. So again, unless you're going to deck me and drag me along, you're going solo this time. Jennifer was slack-jawed at that. But I kept my chin up. If Jennifer really wanted me to tag along, I would. But she would have to demand that herself. She didn't, though. Instead, she hugged and thanked me, before following Mr. Thompson and Mr. Meerman. We watched them go, with Jennifer metaphorically floating only because her demi-type didn't allow actual floating. Are you sure about this? Donovan asked me. We understand if you want to go with her. I scuffed. I want to be there for her, sure, but listening to all that technical chatter would drive me crazy. Besides, she needs some more solo time. Fair enough, I guess. Donovan nodded. Are we still going? We agreed we were and headed out the school front after dismissal, only to be met with another roadblock. A black limousine was out front, with a tall, narrow man holding a black umbrella. What is Mr. Norman doing here? Argento asked. Who's Mr. Norman? I asked. Head butler of the Del Sugugio family, Donovan answered. Is he also a vampire? Yes, he is, Argento answered. Why is he carrying an umbrella? Isn't your family immune to sunlight? They still don't like being in the sun, even with their Catholic protection, Gwen answered. Really? I looked to Argento, who had already started walking to the man. I was still learning new stuff about all the different demi-humans in school. Learning that Argento was a vampire threw me for a loop since he walked in direct sunlight all the time. The whole protected by his Catholic fate didn't help with that either. Though now seeing Argento stop exactly in time to hide in a solid line of shade made it a little easier to get. Master Argento, the man bowed, and Argento firmly nodded. Your parents have summoned you. A political party is scheduled for the night. Last-minute shenanigans have resulted in your father being tasked with a great deal of work. You are to return and aid in preparation. Of course, Norman. Argento turned to me and Gwen. I'm sorry. My family must come first in this regard. Whatever, I said. You going with Donnie? Donovan just nodded, and they both got into the limousine before Norman drove them off, leaving us. Just me and Gwen. Well, I guess it's a girls' night, I sighed. I didn't mind at all. Gwen was quieter than silence itself. It would be nice to get to know this girl I had been spending so much time with, but never talked to. That's what I told myself before noticing she was fidgeting in place. What's wrong? Nothing, Gwen said before fidgeting even more. It's not that I don't like you, Melissa. I do. You're really cool, but I was only doing this for the team. If it's just me and you, then I would rather just go on home for the day. I did not know how to deal with that. I was getting straight up ditched by the weakest, meekest, most timid girl in the whole city. Possibly the whole country, if not the world. This was unbelievable. Alright, whatever, I said, getting over it. I don't mind. I'll just do something by myself. Are you sure? Gwen said. I could easily strong-arm her into going. But I just shrugged. Sure, I just told Jennifer to keep her priorities straight. Hanging out with just one teammate ain't much to be important. So go. It's cool. Promise. Well, okay then. Sorry about this. Gwen bowed and turned to walk away. I watched her as she walked off and around a corner. We were near the same height, but she somehow had a longer stride than me that allowed her to seamlessly glide over the ground. It was strange watching her move, both for her fey grace and her stiff resistance of it. I could only sigh as I stood there by myself, wondering what to do now. Well, that just leaves us, I guess, Nathan said, grabbing my shoulder and shaking me. He had come out of nowhere and was now lifting me onto his shoulder. Still want to go to the arcade? Put me down! I screamed and pounded the top of his head. He just laughed and started walking. Come on, sis. It would be so much faster for me to carry you. I don't want you to carry me, I yelled and tried to pry his arm off of me. I'm not going to the arcade anymore. Why not? Because, I wiggled fruitlessly. My whole team ditched me. But I haven't. We can still go. I had nothing to counter that. Like I said before, I didn't mind Nathan, or the whole family thing. He was okay enough. And I didn't have anything better to do. Go home and read. I stopped resisting and accepted my fate. Fine, let's go. Awesome. Hang on. And before I could ask why, he pinwheeled his arm with Mjolnir and stopped mid-lift to launch us into the air. It was not, by any means whatsoever, the scariest moment of my life, but I still wound up screaming like it was. The city flew under us as Nathan held both me and Mjolnir, the wind brushing over my face, tossing my hair around, and I had to keep a hand on my skirt to keep it from blowing up and exposing my nether regions to the cold. It didn't take that long, though. A minute at most passed before we landed in front of the arcade, and I jumped down, landing on my knees. "You good?" Nathan asked, checking on me. "You're not hurt, are you?" "No!" I snapped back. "Just a little weak in the knees." "Yeah, it's quite the experience, ain't it?" He laughed, and his normal baritone deepened to an almost thunderous rumble. I could have sworn it shook the ground under him. "Come on, let's go." Just like that, he was normal. I shouldn't be surprised. Nathan was one of the strongest brawlers in the school. A senior now, he had made his mark in his freshman year with the two other boys, Rasputin Ivanov, older brother of my classmate Vlad, and the not yet a doctor, Dr. Isaac Norton. They were unbeatable in the school, and here one of them was running into an arcade to play video games with his surrogate little sister. "I'm coming, hold your horses." I jogged after him into the building. The arcade was the same as ever. A dimly lit room filled with the sounds of games of all kinds made up the lobby. But the entire building was the arcade. It was the local hangout for thousands of people and was equipped to handle them. With rooms and sub-rooms, it was rarely ever packed. Nathan had already cashed out tokens for himself and me, but I tried to reject the offer. "I can pay for myself." "Oh? You got an allowance or something?" he joked. "Yeah, I do." I looked away. "Really? How much?" "It's enough." I tried to drop the subject as I walked past him. "Oh, come on, you can tell me. You don't have to be proud around me." "It's not pride. I told you. Odin gives me enough. More than enough, in fact." "Oh, I see." He sounded like he did get it. "How much exactly are we talking about?" I sighed. "A few dozen thousand." "Sweet mercy." Nathan huffed at that. "Well, you are his daughter." "Oh yeah, being daddy's little girl helps," I said. "I know it doesn't. Sorry," Nathan said, and I got my tokens. "Come on, I got some high scores to check." Most of my scores were still on the board, even if they've been knocked down a few pegs. Most by some punk named Ambrose Priest, the punk brother of Adrian Priest himself, who often was right under him by a few points. Their main turf was the Battle Brawl, though, so I avoided those as I rotated through the rest I could manage. I took the top spot of Sky Striker and Gun Gallo, both of which I was a master of, so I only went a couple points over the top before quitting and mounting my name back on top. "Wow, you made that look easy," Nathan said as he watched me enter my name. "Because it is." I hit the enter button and turned to him. "There's a trick to getting huge bonuses, but most around here wouldn't know about it." "Really? What's that?" "Well, you have to wait for the right moment. Whenever the sniper shows up, you have to let him lock onto you, but get him before he shoots." "Really? I didn't know that." "I know, because everyone always either shoots him before he locks on, or they wait until he's reloading. I only discovered that because I only have mundane reflexes, and saw it happen firsthand." "Well, that's fair enough. But not every demi-human has super reflexes." "Yeah, and they're the ones who wait for the reload, relying on cover and buffs to survive the hit." "I see. I guess that makes sense." Nathan rubbed his chin and spoke with a tone of deep thought. "So much of our education is about honing our powers and being confident in our actions that we miss the opportunities born from desperation." "Sweet mercy, Nate, it's a fucking game. You don't need to have an epiphany over it." He laughed at that. "I guess not. You hungry?" I was. We went over to the food court part of the arcade and got something to eat. I like this. Family bonding. It's nice, Nathan said between bites. I sighed. We're not really family. Sure we are. Maybe not by blood, but by the fact we say we're family. Really? You think it's that easy? I know it is. I mean, that's literally how a family starts. For the vast majority of people, our parents aren't significantly related, but they still come together under one roof. That's different. That's about having kids and stuff. Exactly. We grow our family to grow our family even more. And not just through romance either. We gain family through our bonds of trust. Like you and that mutant girl, Jennifer. What? What are you talking about? She's your confidant, isn't she? A confidence bond is as much a relationship as a romantic bond. No, we're not confidants. We don't have that bond. Oh, I see. Well then, I guess I have to explain the importance between lovers, even when they're the same sex. We're not dating either. I'm square and she's boy crazy. We don't have a soul-deep bond between us, okay? We're just friends. We're not confidants or lovers or soulmates or anything, okay? I took a big sip of soda. What about Adrian? I choked and spat my soda out and coughed out, What about Adrian? You two seem like a perfect pair for a rivalry. What? What does that mean? Rivalry, you know. A never-ending clash of forces between two opponents, locked in perpetual conflict as they grow stronger and stronger. A rivalry. I stared in disbelief. No, I'm not rivals with Adrian. Oh, what? Think you're too good for me? Came the voice of Adrian himself from behind me. I groaned as he slapped a hand on our table. That's some big talk from such a small girl. Nathan laughed at that. Pretty sure big talk is the only kind of talking she does. I hear a lot about you, Adrian. He extended a hand and they shook. Good to hear my reputation precedes me. Sure does. Say, is it true you haven't won a single brawl all year? Adrian just laughed at that. Sure is, but only because I don't stick around for half-pint weaklings. If they can't stand against me, they ain't worth my time. Hell yeah, I know just what you mean. Like, I'm not about to knock you across the room. What would be the point? That made Adrian mad. The fuck you mean by that? You don't think I could take you? Oh no, I don't think I would beat you, Nathaniel chuckled to himself. I know I would. And in one hit, so why even bother? You know what I mean. Adrian flipped the table over and drew every eye in the building. Fuck that! I'm the top combatant in my class. And I'm the top combatant in the whole school, Nathan said with an edged tone before smiling again. Well, one of the top 3 at least. Raz, Doc, and I are unbeatable except to each other. Brawl! Adrian said through clenched teeth. What? No! We just went over how we don't fight weaklings. That seemed to set Adrian over his limit. Suddenly, he was projecting a hazy aura around him, and his skin started to turn reddish. Brawl! Come on, man, be reasonable. Now! Was Adrian's reply. Okay, fine. We can rent an hour in the pit. The pit? I asked. Yeah, the arcade has a brawl pit, Nathan explained. It's better than just taking things outside, into the city. Come on, I'll pay the fee. I groaned again as we headed deeper into the arcade. Past the main area where it became sectioned out into sub-areas, and headed down a flight of stairs into a modern coliseum. It was only the size of a skating rink, but it was surrounded by rows of lifted seating. Nathan led us to a booking stand and paid the fee, and the two went down into the pit. The announcer named him and started the brawl, and called it in under a minute, as Nathan sent Adrian out of the ring in one hit. That was a cheap shot. 2 out of 3, Adrian shouted before jumping back down. and the announcer started the second round, and called it a full minute later as Nathan slammed Adrian down into the ground, who then got up and demanded another round. I was barely watching as the cycle repeated up to and past the 7 out of 13 mark. I didn't understand it. I didn't like fighting. I didn't shy away from it, but only because I couldn't. The world was rough. You had to stand your ground, otherwise you would get bowled over. That's why I never took anything from anyone, no matter how big they were, because backing down just makes you smaller, and the smaller you are, the easier it is for something else to eat you. That's just impressive, Carl said as he walked up behind me. Where did you come from? I said to him. Tokyo, Japan, he said, sitting next to me. Where's Jennifer? Off talking to some big brain people about big brain stuff. And you're not with her? I thought you two were confidants. Why? What does that even mean? Confidants? It means... He thought about it for a moment. It means confidant. I don't know how to describe it. It's just a person you trust more than anybody. So, like a close friend? No, it's more than that. It's not just a person you enjoy being around. It's... He closed his eyes in deep thought. It's the person you trust to trust you, Simi said as he joined us. It's said that trusting others is easy, but being trusted is something any good soul struggles with. A confidant is someone you manage to make that trust go both ways. Simi, is your brother okay? Was the first thought that came to my mind. Yeah, but he's going to have to stay in the hospital for a while. Simi's smile had an edge of worry to it. You guys were talking about confidants? I was asking where Jennifer was, Carl explained. We're not confidants. I don't even know why you even have a word for that, I said. Is it a demi-human thing? Kinda. Simi sat next to me. It's more of a military thing, I think. But since we demi-humans are encouraged to focus on combat training, I guess we inherit it early. I still don't understand why you have a label for it. Because it's an important relationship, Gwen said, appearing out of nowhere. It's as important as the relationship between lovers. More so in some cases. This was from Argento, who was entering just behind Gwen. Marriages can be political, but confidence cannot be forced by anything, Donovan said, placing his hand on Argento's shoulder. But once that bond is forged, nothing can break it. I thought you two had a party to get ready for, Gwen asked. Turns out the party was a setup to assassinate my father, but they tipped their hand too soon, so the party was cancelled, Argento explained. I thought you didn't want to come here, I said to Gwen, who blushed and fidgeted. My parents said I should come just to have fun. I've never been here before, Gwen said. Well, come on, take a seat. I patted the seat in front of me. Adrian is getting his ass kicked to hell and back. Gwen perked up at that, and even smirked. By who? Gwen was answered by Nathan booming, Thor, motherfucker! As Adrian got slammed into the barred cage. By my big bro. I smiled as Adrian once again got up and declared some fraction. Gwen sat, and before long we were all cheering. Simi was the only one who favored Adrian. The rest of us cheered the one-sided fight on in general. The hour went on, round after round. Nathan wasn't even winded, while Adrian was actually struggling to stay up. Adrian sure can take a beating, Carl remarked. I'm not surprised, Simi said. Adrian might be a brute, a bully, and an overall pain in the ass, but he values strength above all. And your strength only grows when you push yourself. A bell chimed over the arena, signaling the hour was up. Nathan looked up. Time's up already? Adrian barked out, No! I'm not done yet! Dude, the hour is up. We can't just keep going, we have to stop. I got up and shouted down, Hey! We'll pay for another hour! Keep going! To that, they both gave thumbs up, and I headed to the counter as they continued their fight. I paid the fee and turned to see Jennifer. She was smiling. Jennifer, I thought you were talking to a bunch of super nerds for something. She laughed. I was. Apparently, my report showed interesting insights that were possible through my powers. They offered me a scholarship for when I graduate. That sounds awesome, I said. What's a scholarship? Basically, they pay me to be a student. So like an apprenticeship, but with nerd stuff? She laughed more. Yeah, I guess. That was when the conversation I had with the team came to mind. Was this supposed to be in confidence? Was this her telling a friend about a great opportunity? I didn't have experience in mundane or demi-human friendships to know the difference. Melissa, what's wrong? Jennifer's face turned to concern. Nothing. Let's get back to the show. Adrian kept on for another half hour before he stayed down. Nathan looked like he had stopped enjoying the fight a while ago, but didn't want to ruin the fun. He joined us and we all headed back to the food court. Well, it looks like everything worked out after all. Nathan lifted up a soda. To Team 2. We all joined in and started eating. It wasn't how we planned the day to go. But in the end, we managed to complete our objective, as Carl put it, of coming together as a team and enjoying the day. Of course, afterwards we all started our own way home. Jennifer and me walked in the early night back to Elizabeth House. Jennifer was walking with her head up and smiling. So, I tried to think of what to say. You think Jay and Jay are going to be upset that we went out without them? Of course not, Melissa, Jennifer answered chipper. It was a team outing. They wouldn't expect us to be mad if XK dragged them to a dance club. Sure, but I don't dance. Me neither. Bad example, I guess. She laughed at that. She was in the highest spirits I had ever seen her in. It was nice, but something kept itching in the back of my mind. I don't think they dance either. So I guess that would turn into a rescue mission. Of who? Them or XK from Jessica? She joked. A first to my knowledge. I laughed at that, and we continued walking on. So, they really offered you a big opportunity. Yeah, they said my vision could be used to observe some of the most elusive details of science, she explained excitedly. They said they would start working on experiments. What? But I thought you said after graduation. Yeah, it's going to take that long to set up everything. Safety protocols and all. Oh, well that's good. Good to know you can trust them to not fry you. It sure is. It's pretty scary, some of the stuff they said. But I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for you. And if you're scared, I could come with you. I tried to cut to what I wanted to say. Thanks. I don't know if they would allow you to be there at the experiments. Well, I don't have to be right there. I could just be nearby. As a friend. A good friend. A trusting friend. I honestly had no idea why I was worming around so much on such a nothing issue. I hardened my nerve and said it. Confidant. I did it. I had said the dumb, stupid word everyone made a big deal over. Just in time, too, as we managed to arrive at Elizabeth House. I turned to the courtyard, and was halfway to the door when I realized Jennifer wasn't following. I looked back to see her still standing on the sidewalk. The joy was gone from her eyes, replaced again by her reserved timidness. Fidgeting in place, she tried to find her own words. It's not... That's... Jennifer sighed and focused her own nerve. I don't trust you. I didn't know how to respond to that. So I didn't. I just stood there, waiting for something to happen. Anything that would move this point to the past. Not like that, at least. She continued. But I don't think you can trust me. What? I blurted out. Why? She hugged herself. I just can't. You can't what? I don't understand. I can't trust or be trusted. Not right now. What does that even mean? I was starting to get frustrated with all of this. This was the most ridiculous thing I ever experienced. I was on the edge of just flipping out completely. But then Jennifer continued, "Melissa," she sighed, "you're mundane. You don't understand what it's like." "What? You have the most mild power I've ever seen. Milder than even Jessie. And she's practically mundane herself." "But we're not. I'm not. Ever since I learned I was a mutant. Ever since I came here, I've been..." She kept stopping and starting, looking for the words to say what she wanted. But eventually, she gave up. "I'm sorry." Once again, I had no idea how to respond. Which made sense. I wasn't the type of person to react to things. I was what others reacted to. I was always the one making the first move. I didn't do well with adjusting on the fly. So instead of trying to get it, I decided to push all of this away. I don't remember anything about my family. I started like anything else. For as long as I remember, I was on the streets. I knew a few good souls who kept me from dying, but not much else. Sometimes they would talk about turning me into the state, get shipped to an orphanage, but I never reacted well to that. Pride, I guess. I didn't want to be placed under someone's thumb. I didn't want to become a rank and file number. The others understood that. So I continued living on the streets, moving from town to town, through alleyways and sewers, learning how to read and do math, because you need that stuff to actually travel around. Time schedules and all. I learned how to fight, because all the good souls in the world can't help you when a bad one catches you alone. And I was alone a lot. I didn't trust others. And I don't think anyone trusted me. Until I met old Windbag. He was just an old geezer walking the tracks. We shared a meal and he told me about history, about how he saw the Horde invasion and how he was a witness of the last tomorrow, whatever that meant. And I told him all the thoughts I had about everything. The next day, we started traveling together. We spent a year together, going around and around. We became close friends, and then one day, a bunch of punks attacked us in our hideout. I tried my best, but there were a dozen of them with bats and knives. Windbag couldn't do anything but beg, which just made them laugh. I got a good hit on one of them, and the bastard repaid me by stabbing me in the stomach. It was the scariest thing I ever experienced. I fell to the ground, and I thought I was going to die. But that was when old Windbag had enough. He revealed himself as Odin, and he downed the whole gang, scooped me up, and took me to the hospital. I woke up a day later and learned the bastard adopted me, and that I had a last name now. Jennifer stood there listening. Now she didn't know how to react. She looked like she wanted to break down in some fashion, but I didn't allow her. I get it. Life is hard and everything sucks. But a good friend makes it worth it. But that takes being a good friend, and I don't think I'm really up for that either. So I'm happy we're friends now, and I hope one day we could be more. Jennifer blinked her eyes a few times and smiled. You didn't have to tell me all of that. I know. That seemed to put the spark back in her eye. She walked up to me. I'm glad we're friends too. With that, I nodded. Okay? Good. Let's head on in.